Hello, wild ones. It's Cole Adams. Have you ever walked into a hardware store and just had to pick up some paint samples? Just me? Are you sure? Okay, if you haven't, if you don't do that, welcome to the habit. Go grab some paint samples, grab something to work on. These are just alphabet cards that I picked up at a thrift store. I painted a little bit of yellow dots on them, it looks like. But mainly, I'm going to work with those three color swatch samples to create a collage only based on those colors. For everybody else, we did this as a group challenge. There was about 4 of us in the challenge. And for 4 of us doing it, everybody else had to pick out really bright colors because that was a challenge for them. And some of us had to pick out neutrals because that's a challenge for me. So I'm going through all of my collage papers and just seeing where I can find that color within each paper. And I'm giving myself a pretty wide stretch. Like, it's okay if it's close enough, if it's like the right tone and hue. And because I have the color strips, I can kind of go up and down the strip to see where those colors might live. So this is just kind of picking out papers. I think I probably pre-picked some of these to show how you can pick it. And of course, if there's other colors on those papers, I'm going to try to emphasize more of these 3 tones of color. I have a lot more of that browny kind of purpley color than I thought I did in my collection. So it was kind of neat to find those colors actually existing in some of my collage papers to start. I love mixing that end of the palette paint, and I found that those were the pieces I was grabbing. This is a book I just love, Design and Composition Secrets for Professional Artists. And it's kind of published as a group project, so there's a lot of authors. One of the best parts of this book is these little composition thumbnails, and I loved kind of combining this challenge with a thumbnail challenge of let's find a composition style that works with what I'm trying to create, which I'm going to go with these kind of window panes or overlapping squares. Maybe a little bit of the counter lever as well. And now we just get to gluing and kind of tearing and seeing. I like torn edges way more than I like cut edges in thin collage. The paper I'm using here is deli paper and deli paper, tissue, rice paper, all of those things combined to create this little tiny jewel box of a collage piece. And I kind of think of these as like study thumbnails that I add to my journal, my art journals. Next step is adding some glue. I'm going to use this shaper tool, this gray shaper tool that's on my desk. And the glue I like to use is matte medium or gloss medium. Today I think this is matte medium. And I'm just going to spread it out using this rubber tool. Usually, which I think it comes in a second, I use a wall tool. Yep, here it is. There's my favorite. It's actually from a hardware store as well. It's a wall painting tool. I think it's called a trim painter. And I find it keeps all of my good brushes from going directly into just medium. And because I teach a lot, it's nice to have dedicated glue tools. You can keep, if you're going to be doing a ton of collage, you can keep this wet by just putting it in a plastic bag and then putting it in a refrigerator overnight, and it'll stay wet for about a week if you're using it every day. I usually get 2 different heads or the little foamy parts for the handle, and that I tend to just let them get crunchy and then switch them out when I'm ready. I love how this paper layers and how it builds this like really interesting textural top. Kind of looks like Stonehenge to me in some way, but I'm liking how it looks right now. I like how I went from less densely packed color to the most intense color right there in the corner on the front. I think I'm gonna let it dry. Okay, here's our big reveal, the hardware store challenge. This is the little rabbit on the front. I thought his little bombastic side eye to these colors was really funny. So these are the 3 strips just cut down. And ba-da-da! Here is our finished collage. I get really close so you can see the textures. I went in with some woody crayon texture, and I was gonna bleed it out, but I actually really love that skip and go texture that really showed up. I did end up putting the moon in after debating it. I love moons and suns. They just are part of my visual library. And this is the final piece. It's part of my art camp book from last year, and it just kind of slides in. I just taped it in as a tag. I love little art events like that, so that it shows up in a book where you're doing a lot of learning. So that's kind of how my sketchbooks look. I hope that you enjoyed this project, and I hope you go out and grab some paint samples of your own and get creating. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of this earth. Now more than ever.